Yo, what's up, YouTube family? So I've had a lot of questions lately asking if this channel is going to keep going. And yeah, it's going to keep going. It's been a while, but now we're back and I'm going to be making consistent content again. So what happened is my wife and I actually packed up about 4 months ago and left Miami and moved back here to the beautiful city of Los Angeles, one of our favorite cities in the entire world. But we had to break down a 4-bedroom house, break down a full recording studio, shove it into a giant semi-trailer, and then ship it across the country, unload it, and reset it up here in a new condo building. But what I wanted to do is take y'all into the new studio space that's back here, show you around, give you a full tour of how everything is connected. It's actually probably my favorite studio that I've had since getting into building studios in different spaces, and we're walking into it right now. You're going to hear that it's actually really dead in here. The sound probably dropped quite a bit when we came in here, but it's really creative because we have a couple of different stations back here. We have a desk where all the DAW stuff happens. We have one standalone workstation over here and a second standalone workstation over here, all based around the MPC XSE. So in this video, I want to give you a tour of how everything is laid out, all the gear inside this studio, in hopes it might inspire you to maybe set up a different scenario inside of your studio. Anything we can do to kind of break down the resistance of being creative and stay in that constant workflow. I'm going to be doing it with the Osmo Pocket 3 here, which is a handheld gimbal camera. So it's going to be kind of a first person. It might be a little shaky at times because I'm just going to be walking around showing you how everything works inside the studio, but I hope it brings you some value out there. And if you have any questions or comments, if you want to see detailed breakdowns of any of the gear, how the routing works, or just any suggestions in general about future videos, please let me know in the comment section down below. I read all the comments and I'll do my best to keep bringing y'all valuable videos. And on that note, I hope you enjoyed this little breakdown tour of the new studio space that we're standing in right now. All right, so when you first enter into the studio, the first thing you're probably going to notice is that the entire room is sound treated. You might actually hear it very dead in here because every single wall is going to be covered with 703, and it's a full drop ceiling put in here. There's actually about another 2 feet above this drop ceiling where there's additional drywall. There's some more insulation because this studio is actually built inside of a condominium building. So I do have a neighbor upstairs. I don't share any walls, but there is a neighbor upstairs. So I had to take that in consideration. And one of the reasons that we actually ended up with this unit is it is a full cement floor. So the people down below can't hear anything, no matter how loud you get. And then upstairs, they also can't hear anything. On the back, we have a couple of angled panels just to break up the walls, and this is all gapped off the wall just by a little air gap here. It's probably about an inch air gap, and then all of these are separated from the wall, so none of these actually touch the wall. It is fully decoupled and has an internal frame, and the ceiling suspended from the internal frame, so nothing is actually touching the outside of the unit here. So that's essentially how the room sound treatment is. And this whole wall is removable because behind here there is a full-length closet storage situation going on. And a couple of these panels just simply pull out. I'll just pull one out real quick for you. And as you can see, there's a full storage right back there, and then the panels simply slide back in. I'm not going to do it right now because I'm just having one hand. But let me show you around the studio. Typically there's not a big light here, but I usually have my studio pretty dark, and so I need to add a little bit of extra light. There is a really messy back couch right here, but it's typically not that messy. I just had to move all the stuff from over here out of the way so I could show you around. But typically everything is nice and clean and organized, but in all honesty, things get a little messy. So let's just take a look at the studio layout here. So essentially you have 3 stations. You have the center unit, which is your main kind of DAW station here with the computers hooked up, MIDI controller under the desk, and we'll go over all that. You have your main standalone station powered by the MPC XSE, and then you have your additional standalone station right here. Now there's 2 pieces of equipment inside this whole room that kind of link everything together. The first one is going to be the UFX3 by RME. This is an absolutely amazing audio interface, and that actually has two expansions over here, which are going to be the Pulse 16s by Ferrofish. I think they're all under the same company. But all of the 16, so 32 ins and outs over here, just go through one tiny little MIDI cable into this guy right here. Everything is routed seamlessly through Total Mix, and then using the ART controller, you can flip through a whole bunch of different configurations over here just by clicking these. Now, one good thing about having an ART controller connected to your RME is that I can position it anywhere. So whether I'm working in standalone mode over here, I can flip between the two speakers, or if I'm over here on the DAW, I can just leave it right here on the desk and have full access to it. Now, that's where all the audio is being routed, through the RME UFX, utilizing Total Mix. Now, all of the MIDI, everything that's connected in here, from the MPC over here with the Montage 6, the MIDI from these guys for the effects synchronization, the MIDI from the different synthesizers over here that we'll go over in a second, that all comes through this guy right here, which is going to be the Mio XL. Now, all of the MIDI throughout this entire room is routed into this amazing MIDI router right here, and it goes to two destinations. One, the Ethernet goes into the Thunderbolt hub back here, and now anything that's MIDI is connected to the computer right here, which is just a M1 MacBook Pro. Or if you're using standalone, it's also connected right here to the MPC XSE through this USB cable right here. So whether you're using standalone over here, or if you're using a DAW, everything is seamlessly integrated. Also, on this guy too, all the audio is also routed out of here, back into here, and vice versa. So all the synths and all of the gear is connected both to the UFX3 and also to the Mio XL, allowing you to control anything, whether you're in standalone mode or if you're in DAW mode. So first over here, let's take a look at the standalone station A. Now, this is when I don't want to turn on anything else in the studio and I just want to vibe out and see what I could get off of this Montage M6, and I do all the sequencing inside of this Key 37. So these two are connected right here. The audio from the headphones goes out of this guy into here for sampling in, but also the audio through USB goes from here over into the DAW. So if I'm sequencing inside of the DAW and I want to record in all 16 parts from the Montage M6 right here, it's as easy as going into the settings and changing the audio to USB audio, and then you can use this seamlessly by itself, or over here with the DAW, or over here with the MPC XSE, because again, the Montage M6 over here is connected via MIDI to the Mio XL, and also via USB to the Key 37. So I wanted to create a room where I have multiple ways of being creative without worrying about reconnecting things. So this is standalone station 1 right over here. We have a PJ bass, Fender PJ bass, a really cool Ciari guitar, or Ciari. If you don't know about these, look them up. It's called Ciari, and this whole thing actually folds down and goes into a backpack. So this guitar comes with me whenever I travel. It sounds amazing, has dual humbuckers on it. Then over to the left, we just have a whole bunch of guitar stuff. We have a D15 by Martin, a little Taylor in there, and then just a whole bunch of guitar tools. I'm learning all the stuff with guitars, how to refret, do all that kind of stuff. So this area does get a little bit messy, I'm not gonna lie. But right next to it, we have kind of the brains of the entire room, which is going to be the whole desk right here. And at the bottom is a full pull-out keyboard section right here with a bunch of MIDI controllers on it. So let's go over everything that's happening here. First off, you're probably wondering, what kind of crazy speakers are these? These are actually Soul Asylum Studio acoustics, made in Atlanta, designed by an amazing engineer named Raphael Capone. These things are unbelievable. I had the Barefoots, and after getting these guys set up, it really changed my perspective on what I was hearing. And then I sold off my Barefoots and pretty much installed these guys. So what's going on with these? Well, there's two 10-inch subs. There's one on top, one on bottom, two 5-inch mid-range, one 3-inch mid-driver right here, and then an AMT tweeter, air motion tweeter, which I absolutely love more than your standard Silk Dome or your barium tweeter. These things sound amazing. They're a fully sealed cabinet. They're about 1,300 watts each, and you can listen at really low volumes and hear absolutely everything that's going on with your mix, from all the way down from 20 hertz that you can only feel and not hear, all the way up to 20,000 hertz. And these guys sound absolutely amazing. So everything as far as what's on this desk with USB connectivity, everything is running through this OWC Thunderbolt 4 dock. So one single Thunderbolt cable connects to the laptop right here, and that activates your external display, your RME interface, anything that's connected here on the desk and routed automatically connects. And then all the MIDI connects through the Mio XL, which is running Ethernet from there over into the Thunderbolt hub. So it's really simple. Plug in one thing and everything is connected here to this laptop. Now over to the right of the laptop, we have a M2 Pro iPad, 12-inch, 13-inch, or whatever size these guys are. And recently I've been going back and using Logic a lot because the Logic remote on here is absolutely amazing. Being able just to quickly touch and do mixing adjustments here, go in and adjust anything with your plugins. The Logic Pro remote is an absolute game changer. And the other thing I love about going back and starting to work in Logic again now is the Logic on the iPad, which is a fully functional DAW that exists right here on your iPad. So when I'm traveling now, sometimes I leave my laptop at home and I just bring the iPad with projects in it, and right on the back here on the case, we have a full 192 audio interface that has two ins, so you could run either stereo in or an instrument in, and this thing actually has phantom power on it. It's absolutely nuts. ESI UGM 192. This thing sounds amazing. It has direct monitoring, and I just use a couple of magnets here, and this guy just sticks right in the back. And then we have our Thunderbolt hub right here, so you can put in all your USB connections or a hard drive, and then you just clip that guy right on there, and you have a fully portable Logic Pro iPad ready to go with all the connectivity you need. Also on the desk here, you'll see the old Apogee Hype mic. This mic I think is super, super underrated. I've started to use this actually a lot for tracking sessions and even doing final vocals because it does have a compressor built into it and it sounds amazing. It's also an audio interface with direct monitoring. So when I travel, I pretty much just grab these two units right here and I'm out the door. I sold off most of my really expensive mics because now that I'm back in LA, I have connections to enough studios where if I just want to go in there and do a session for a half a day, I can just ask for a favor and grab a couple things from their mic locker and we are all set up. So at home, I'm pretty much using this and then one other mic that's over there, but this actually gets the most usage because it sounds absolutely amazing. Now, moving over on the desk here, we have a couple of effects that are always plugged in, routed through Total Mix. We have the H90 right here, which is an absolute beast of a effects box. And then we have the Chroma Console, which has gotten just so much popularity because it sounds amazing and it does what it does really, really well. Below that is the Machine Jam and the Machine Plus. I just got these. I'm just kind of playing around with the workflow and seeing if I like it, because it's a whole new world. I am very much in the MPC lifestyle, but these guys are pretty sexy, actually. I really like the hardware on them. And then below that is a little bit more Native Instruments. We have the Control S, I think this is the 61, the S61. And also we have the Rolly little C-board and the light block, which if I want to get crazy with MPE stuff, I plug these guys in and you're able to do some really cool tweaking on the XY axis right here. Giant bag of headphone adapters, because you always need a ton of headphone adapters right there. A little MPC 1 Plus if I ever need to grab something to go. This guy's just sitting here. I do have a battery that connects to it, and I bring this with me a lot of times on trips, and it pairs really nicely with the iPad running Logic. So that is pretty much the desk. One little pro tip is that for doing your power, especially to your speakers, because you always want your speakers to be turned on last when you do a sequence, I have all my speakers and different things connected to these little power clickers that are on Amazon for really cheap. So if I want to turn on these guys right here, I just click them on. Those guys are on. That's speaker A. Here's speaker B, which is an old set of Blue Sky Media Desk speakers that actually have a pretty damn powerful 8-inch sub down there. And those are all connected to this guy right here. So we can just click it on. That guy's on. Let's click it off. And these two pedals right here actually don't have power switches, because most of the time they're connected to like a master power box on a guitar footboard or a pedal board. But I just use this guy right here. If I want to turn them on, we just click on right there. And these two guys should automatically turn on, both boot up, get up and running, and now we have our pedals turned on without having to unplug them or use a main power strip over here that the speakers and everything else on the desk is connected to. So these little guys are absolutely phenomenal, and I think a must for any studio. So let's just turn them off, and it's as simple as that. And those just live right here on the desk. So this is where I spend a lot of time when we're in the final stages of doing a mix down. Now over here is kind of the junk shelf. It was supposed to be really fancy and displayed nicely because it's in the background of all of my videos, but in all honesty, I kind of gave up. We got a little modular gear down here with the Moog. We have a 16 terabyte backup solid state hard drive that's screaming fast and everything goes through it. It's connected with the Ethernet cable to the main hub. We have this, what I call the always on mic. So this mic right here is always connected and always live inside of the UFX. So if someone's sitting back there on the couch and they have a quick idea, I can just throw them the mic. They can just hold it in their hand, sing their idea, get it out. I can really quickly throw it on a stand, track in some guitar. This guy just always lives on, and a lot of times I'll actually just put it back here and it will sit next to the couch back there and just be hanging out. So that right here is the main desk. Again, if you have any questions about it, just let me know in the comments down below. And now we have the standalone station. This essentially is the standalone station. So again, with this setup, all of the MIDI in here and all the MIDI over here is all connected to this Mio XL right here, which is absolutely amazing. And this connects back to the laptop here, or it goes to the MPC XSE right here via this USB cable. So you have the best of both worlds. I don't even need to turn on the laptop and the computer if I want to do standalone. All I have to do is turn on the RME interface right there, and then use the switch to turn on the speakers. And then this whole station is alive and breathing, and I can do all my sequencing inside of the XSE. So let's check out and see what's going on over here. On the left side, again, the speakers are Blue Sky Media Desk. I mean, these are old speakers. I got them, I think the whole set for like 150 bucks on Facebook Marketplace. But they actually sound really, really amazing. Below that, we have the Vitalizer right here, and then a rack that I'm building out. I have another one of these, which is the SSL6, and then another one of these, which is Audioscape V3A. I just loaned them out to a buddy so he could test them out and see if he likes the combination of the super clean here going into a little bit more saturation on the compressor here. But typically this is a little bit more filled out. All of the audio inside of the entire station over here, it all goes into these Pulse 16s. And these Pulse 16s go through a little teeny tiny, sorry about the cable mess, but a little teeny tiny optical MIDI cable. Now, below that, we got some pull-out shelves. Here's a TR-8S, amazing drum machine, one of my absolute favorites. It has amazing swing, offset, all that funky stuff. Below that's going to be a little single voice analog synth. This may look familiar to some of you that have it out here. It's the Pioneer DJ Cherise. Technically an AS1. This is when they did the partnership with Dave Smith. It's a pretty amazing piece. Below that is just another shelf that doesn't have anything on it, except this little guy, which every now and then gets pulled out, but it just kind of looks cool. And then moving down, you have your power firm and strip conditioners. Now up on top, we got the J6. This is pretty fun. It does have some cool pad sounds in it, but honestly, what I typically use this guy for is the chord sequencer and the chord library. I'll use this and connect it to the MPC just to have some pretty amazing chord sets to trigger and get some fresh ideas out of this thing. That's why it's not really connected. It just kind of sits here because sometimes I connect it to the MPC One Plus, sometimes I connect it to the iPad, and sometimes I connect it to the MPC X SE, which is the hub of this whole standalone station that's going on here. Now over to the right of that is a little piece of nostalgia. I like older synths because they have sounds in there that are on some of my favorite songs, really nostalgic. You can get a full software version of this thing now. You can easily replace this with samples, but there's something about having this living, breathing beast of a piece of heritage inside the studio that I absolutely love. If you're not familiar with it, it is an EMU Proteus 2500 command station. This is about the pinnacle of the EMU line when they were doing the MoFat, the Fat XL, all these different single rack units. This has 4 slots in it, so I have 4 essential module sound banks in here. Picture this as Omnisphere before Omnisphere existed. 32 channel sequencer if you want. I almost do 99% of the sequencing over here when I'm using these two together because it's so much faster in the MPC. But it does have amazing filters and a lot of parameters, so you can really tweak the sounds in there. And it has amazing old school sounds, whether it's cheesy techno synth leads, whether it's cheesy R&B beats. You'll go through it and you'll hear a bunch of them from here where they're on some of your favorite records, and that's where they came from. So this guy lives in the studio. I use it actually a lot more than I thought I would because it's always connected. Again, audio and MIDI going in and out of here. Now, below that is what I think is the best synth ever built. Again, that's just my personal opinion. It is a fully digital synth. It's a virtual analog, so it's not really analog. But this is the Access Virus TI2 Polar 37 key synth. And the thing I love about this is not only the sounds that are inside of it, but it's a 16-part multi-timbral synth, meaning that you can have 16 different sounds inside of this thing layered up, and then you can designate them to come out of 3 different pairs of stereo outputs, which are right in the back here. So you could have a super lush pad, and on each one of those layers, it can have its own sequence, it can have its own arpeggiator, it can have its own series of effects. You can even run audio into here and use this just as a standalone effects unit, and it does have some pretty amazing effects. If you're not familiar with this synth, it was actually made by the guy Kemper, who makes all the guitar Kemper stuff. This was so far ahead of its time that they still sell it new, and I think it still holds up as one of the best synths ever made. Over here is just a little X-Touch for transport control. Let's say you're working in the DAW over here, but you wanted to sequence some stuff over here with some of this gear. You don't have to constantly be reaching back and forth. You can either bring over the Logic remote from the iPad, or you can just use this guy to trigger your playback on there. Then underneath that, we have the big Grand Poobah Beast right here, which is heavy, and it is the Moog Sub 37. Now this guy is a bass beast. It sounds amazing. It does what it does extremely well. And since everything, again, is routed over through the pulse, if I want to really quickly flip a switch and route this through, let's say, any one of these two effects boxes, or even up through the Access Virus right here, it's as simple as hitting one of my saved presets on the ARC, because these are all different routing scenarios right here that will then route the Mini Moog to whatever I want, and I can save that routing and instantly access the routing. So again, my goal of this whole setup is to have everything instantly accessible. And then below that, for my guitar player folk, we have a slide out pedal board. And right now it's just a couple of Tonex pedals, but it actually comes fully out and lays on the ground at an angle. So you have a full guitar stomp shelf that you can sit here and bang away. And then when you're done with it, all you do is you simply flip it up and it hides away. So this whole setup right here, this actual furniture, I just built it from a bunch of wood at Home Depot. I used to do some construction back in the day, and I really enjoy woodworking. So I just built this kind of to the specs that I wanted. There actually is 3 shelves in here, but I had to remove one because the Sub 37 is so big. But essentially you could have 3 different 37 keyboards right here, the guitar pedal on the bottom, and then a full rack with all these slide out shelves right here on the left, and a whole bunch of stuff on top. That was the goal. I absolutely love this whole setup. It's also on wheels if you need to move it around. And because there's 2 sets of speakers right here, if you're working over here and you don't want to get your right ear blasted out, you just hit the speaker B on the ARC controller on the desk right here, and it'll just flip your whole audio over here. So you have a stereo image going on over here. And then when you want to go back here, all you have to do is flip the ARC controller and flip it back. All right, so that was just a quick crash course into how this whole studio scenario is set up, and I hope it maybe inspired you to set up a different station inside of your studio, or get everything connected so you have that instant access to every piece of gear that you have, because anything you can do to reduce the resistance towards your creative workflow is going to help you make more music on a more consistent basis. And speaking of consistency, I'm back on YouTube, and I'll be making more and more videos as time goes on. So if you have any suggestions, comments, or questions, please leave a comment down below. I read all the comments, and I'll take into consideration anything I can make that maybe helps you understand the gear, the routing, or the creative process better. The channel's now at 13,000 subscribers, which I'm grateful for. So I'll keep it up if you keep watching. And on that note, thanks for your time. Thanks for your attention. Now go make some music. Peace.